Welcome to the Planet B podcast, where truth, transformation, and faith converge. Join us as we flip the script on ecological despair, guided by Dr. Sailesh Rao's vision for a compassionate, rewilded vegan world. Let's begin the journey to the greatest transformation in human history.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 10, How Humans Belong in Nature. Let's start with the beautiful quote that you highlight at the beginning of chapter 10 about love.
Yeah, sure, it's from Brené Brown, and she says, we are biologically, cognitively, physically, and spiritually wired to love and to belong. We are designed for love. And we're designed for belonging. And that to me was a very insightful statement that she made. It's true. It's only when we are loving, when we love the earth, when we love others, that we feel happiest.
When we feel that love, we feel included. We feel that we belong. And that goes back to, Dr. Rao, how do humans belong in nature?
Yeah, and that's the entire subject of this chapter. We begin by noticing that our superpower is that we can start fires, at any time. So we can start fires. We started fires by, rubbing two stones initially. And the original fires that we started are still burning, right? So we have just taken that and we continued that with matchsticks and all kinds of things. But it's ultimately starting fires is our superpower. And you observe what we have done over the last 10,000 years is that we have maintained the temperature on Earth. So the Holocene era is supposedly this remarkable era where temperatures stayed constant. Professor William Ruddiman pointed out the temperature stayed constant because of human beings starting fires and burning down forests. And, all that increased the carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere, made it stay constant at 280 parts per million. And that's how we stabilized the temperature. Our ancestors did that. And then over the last 200 years, we have used science to come up with technologies. And with that technology, we are now able to measure. We are able to now recreate the past. So we understand that this is really what happened. And we have increased the temperature now by 1.5 degrees Celsius compared to pre-industrial levels. And now there are signals from nature saying, danger, danger, danger. Don't go any further. So we are being called to restore the temperature back to what it was 200 years ago, because we know in the system that was a stable state. Because we were able to maintain it for 10,000 years without doing much, So it's a stable state. So we should be able to bring the temperature back to that setting and stabilize it and maintain it there forever. So we belong as the thermostat species of the planet. It's our job to create homeostasis for planet Earth and maintain that homeostasis. Okay? That's our superpower. That's our role. That's how we belong in nature. It's a conclusion you draw just from the data and the science. Now that we know that we can impact the life support systems of the planet, we have no choice but to stabilize the life support systems of the planet and maintain them forever. Okay? So we are like technicians who have to maintain something. We are the maintenance man. The maintenance species of the planet, right? So it's not the boss of the planet. It's not an underling of the planet. No, you have a role to play, just like the elephant has a role to play.
That goes kind of into and you highlight this in chapter 10, the true meaning of Homo sapien.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about that?
The true meaning of Homo sapiens is the wise hominid. Okay. And what is wisdom? Wisdom is the ability to make sense of knowledge and adapt accordingly. A wise species will understand that we have a role to play and we have to now transform ourselves, transform our civilization, organize around fulfilling that role. So that's what a wise species would do. And I've never met a wise person going around saying, look, I'm so wise.
So true.
To me, calling ourselves Homo sapiens itself is a sign that we are immature.
That makes
Right?
sense.
We were immature when we called ourselves that. And a mature species would not go around calling itself, look, I'm wise. I believe that calling ourselves Homo sapiens is a sign that we were scared that we didn't belong.
Mm.
And so we are now, we were saying we are the wisest, the most intelligent. We are superior to all these other species. So this is our playground. We can do whatever we want. All these notions, all these stories we told ourselves is now being called into question. Okay, over the last 30 years, we have understood the planetary scale impact of our civilization and how we now need to play a role in the future. And that role is to be the thermostat species, whether we like it or not. We can't say, oh, I don't want that role anymore. You're stuck. Right? This is why I call nature the perfect system design. Because once you realize that's your role, you have to play that role. If you don't, nature says, all right, I'm done. You have another planet to go to? No, you don't have another planet to go to. You have to stabilize the temperature here and maintain it in the stable state forever, because we don't know whether there is a stable state at a higher temperature level. We don't know. It could become the Venus syndrome. And this is what Jim Hansen said. Jim Hansen said, if you take all the fossil fuels we have underground and burn it, the Venus syndrome is a dead certainty.
And what does that mean, the Venus syndrome?
The Venus syndrome is, he did his PhD thesis studying Venus. Why is Venus, our sister planet, roughly the same size, roughly getting the same amount of sunlight as the Earth? Why is Venus at surface temperature so high? So it is 460 degrees Celsius, the surface temperature on Venus. Okay, in his PhD thesis showed that it's that high because all the carbon, all the CO2 on Venus is in the atmosphere. So the atmospheric CO2 level is so high that the greenhouse effect is amplified, and the surface temperature on Venus is 460 degrees Celsius. So that's his thesis. And so if you take the same approach on Earth, if you take all the fossil fuels and burn it up, then the CO2 level in the atmosphere will go so high that the surface temperature on Earth will go out of control. Okay.
Right.
So, and he's claiming that it could reach Venus type levels. I mean, nothing lives, I mean, you're in an oven.
Right. In chapter 10, you also highlight that in our current state, humanity now must shift away from disrupting the life support systems of the planet and become truly responsible for stabilizing the climate. So become the true wise beings that we should be. How can we move into that planet B, the climate cooling?
Well, it first begins with transforming ourselves. So I say transform yourself, transform our world, right? So it begins by acquiring humility. You're part of something much, much more intelligent than you thought. And she has been using us. We think we have been using her. No, she's been using us to stabilize the climate on Earth. And understandably so, because the Earth is at the inner edge of the habitable zone around the sun. It's not like you can do whatever you want and life will somehow come back. Life is quite fragile. So she's like a middle-aged planet, who potentially could die. She's saying, okay, now I want a few more years. In her case, few more years is few 100 million years of more life. Okay. And how do you do that? Well, you have to stabilize the climate. You need to get some active feedback going so that even as the Earth gets closer and closer to the inner edge, you're able to stabilize it and maintain the temperature. maintain the climate for life to thrive. Right? And it's not that hard to do. Basically, you can coast, at the temperature that was there 200 years ago. You can literally coast, but you have to be in alignment with nature. You cannot go and disrupt the life support systems of the planet. You have to let the life support systems stabilize themselves. And if they are not stable right now because we have already pushed them beyond the point of no return, then we have to figure out how to pull them back. That's the next step in the transformation that needs to happen. And once we do that, we can basically maintain it for as long as we want. Right? So it's our job. It's like you are a technician who has to maintain the AC in a home. So we are like that technician, who has to maintain the life support systems on planet Earth. That's our role.
It's very interesting to think of it because the thermostat species is the one that can move it in either direction if needed.
You can, but you have to do that within the stable zone of the life support systems of the planet. Right? Because that's the primary thing. The planet's systems are the primary thing. And our role is secondary.
Right.
Okay. So it's not like we know there is another stable state that we can just pull the thing to and leave it there. No.
Right.
We have no clue.
Yeah.
Okay. We do know that for 10,000 years it was stable at that state. So this is why I'm suggesting in the solutions to restore the ecosystems that used to be there 200 years ago, because you're trying to get back to that state. Okay? Because that's a stable state that we know, right, in the system. I mean, these are complex nonlinear systems, and they may have another stable state somewhere else. We don't know. Maybe at much lower temperature. That's a stable state, because that's between the glaciation and the interglacial period. It was toggling between the two, right? So there may be another stable state like 10 degrees Celsius cooler than where we are now. But then, most of North America, most of Northern Europe would be frozen.
Right.
And, nothing could live there. So it's a stable state with very low quality of life. So this is a stable state with a high quality of life, and everyone can thrive. And I think this is where we need to bring the thermostat setting and maintain it. So first is to understand that we belong as a species. There is a role for us, number one. And number two, we have been already doing that for the last 10,000 years, unknowingly, right? Or maybe even knowingly, we don't know. Maybe our ancestors knew and we forgot because we got more and more separate from nature. But there is nothing in the written record saying that our ancestors knew that. So I'd say first is acquire humility. You're not the wisest species. Okay? And stop calling ourselves Homo sapiens. So I think it's a very important step to change our name, what we call ourselves. And I'm proposing that we adopt Judy Carman's Homo Ahimsa as the name for humanity. So it's not talking about our characteristic of how wise we are, but talking about our character, which is that we are non-violent to other beings. So we are here to stabilize the climate and maintain it, and the animals can come and complain to us. This is not good. Go fix this.
No. Yeah.
So we are serving the animals in that sense. Right? And I think that's a great way to live, where you're in service to other life. You're not the boss of other life, that you can go do whatever you want. You're in service to others. So it begins with that sense of humility. And of course we have to maintain this, which means that we may have to do mining and things like that, but on a very small scale, just to maintain. So once you have an objective, and we have an objective now as a species, then you can design systems to meet that objective with the minimum amount of resources extracted from the planet. And all our children, they all should be taught that this is our objective.
Right.
So this is why I say that the education system needs to change first. So we have to transform the education system so that we are teaching our children our true role as the climate regulating thermostat species of the planet.
All right. And that goes into the acronym vegan.
Yeah. Vegan is vitally engaged guardians of animals and nature. In a way, guardian also means that you have more power over the animals, which you do. But a guardian should not be abusing those that they're responsible for. Okay.
Right.
So it's about taking care of them. It's recognizing that we have the technology to kill them off too.
Yeah.
So when you have that kind of power, it comes with responsibility in the system.
Yeah. You mentioned kind of the true purpose of governance as well.
True purpose of governance is to protect and cultivate the health and vitality of the planet and all its inhabitants for generations to come. And this is Dr. Shelley Ostroff who said that. That's the only legitimate purpose of governance. The purpose of governance is not to raise children in order to exploit them. Basically, we teach them incorrect science, like the protein myth and the calcium myth and so on, in order so that they start eating the wrong foods. So putting candy at eye level, deceiving them into consuming foods that are bad for them so that they get sick, so that they can be customers for the pharmaceutical industry. That is not the purpose of governance. Because there the assumption is that the purpose of governance is to ensure that corporations can increase their profits and the economy can grow. Okay,
Right, so that goes back to economic growth.
Right, that goes back to economic growth as the optimization criteria. And you say you don't need to do that. The only legitimate purpose of governance is to protect and cultivate the health and vitality of the planet and all its inhabitants for generations to come. We all have to agree on that. That's the only legitimate purpose of governance. And once we agree on that, then we can say, why are we organized like this? So we're asking fundamental questions about the system and then answering them as to how you would do this. So Mother Earth has singled us out and tagged us. Say, you're it. Initially there were lots of hominids. We had lots of cousins. And we are the ones who won. We tussled with them, we killed them off, or we probably even intermarried with them, and we are all intermingled right now. So we are the species that knows how to control fire. So which means we are it.
A lot of people, they believe that planet Earth would be better off without our species here, without humanity. What is your perspective on that?
I use always the magic wand experiment. Okay, and this is something that my advisor taught me to do when I was doing my PhD. He said, take whatever you are proposing and simplify it and see, does it make sense? Okay, if it makes sense, then it likely is true. So then you can proceed further. If it doesn't make sense, don't even bother with your hypothesis. Throw it away, right? Start another one. And so it's a quick and dirty way of analyzing things. So I start with the magic wand experiment. Assume that I wave a magic wand and all 8 billion human beings disappear off the face of the earth. What happens to the earth? Number one, if you disappear, all of our power plants, everything will stop operating. So which means we'll stop burning fossil fuels right away. And when you stop burning fossil fuels right away, the cooling gases will disappear right away within 2 to 3 weeks. And when the cooling gases disappear, the earth will heat up by 50% to 87%, as we just discussed in the last few chapters, right?
Right.
So the earth will heat up right away. You will get a lot more these fires and so on. So it's not clear whether it will stabilize. So it could be that the temperature will increase and increase and increase and get amplified to a point where the Venus syndrome becomes a dead certainty. Again,
Right.
because all the methane that's in the permafrost will melt. Permafrost will melt, the methane will just come out, and that will heat up the earth even more. And so there are lots of positive feedback loops that come into play. Okay? So it's likely that the earth could become Venus. So we don't know. Potentially, the earth heats up and the North Atlantic current stops and Europe cools, and then you get a lot of ice on top of Europe, which reflects sunlight back, and the earth could stabilize. We don't know. Okay, but again, this is an experiment that you don't want to run.
No.
And the animals are saying, don't run that experiment. So we need you. So basically, I say we have to know that we have a role to play, and we have to take on the responsibility for playing that role, instead of saying, we are better off with not being here. The earth would be better off with human beings not here, right? We don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's really well said too, and important, because it's, some people, they feel like there is no role, but it's very clear how important the human role is on planet B and as the thermostat species.
Yeah. So a species that has power over the life support systems is a species that's going to maintain the life support systems and stabilize it. So this is how Mother Earth is building homeostasis for herself. She gave us all homeostasis, right? We can go to a colder climate or a warmer climate and maintain the same body temperature. Right? So that allows us to be flexible in an environment that's changing. So we can migrate from place to place and still survive. And she says, I want that for myself too, because the sun is getting bigger and bigger. It's getting warmer and warmer. So help me stabilize the climate. And she tagged us and said, you're it. You're the species that's going to do this. So we are the species that knows how to create technology. We are the species that has access to science. We can figure out the outer truth, so systematically through science. So using all that, you have to maintain the life support systems. And I think it's an obvious role that's right there in front of us, right?
And exciting one too.
It is. So teaching children that, first of all, right? So that everybody understands that this is a role we have to play. And if you don't play that role, well, things are going to get worse and worse and worse, and you die off. Right? And
Yeah.
that's not a future I want to give to my children and grandchildren.
No,
Yeah. So
definitely
you
not.
begin with that. Help them understand that we all belong exactly as we are. And we have a role to play, and we have to organize around that role. And education is to help you organize around that role. It's like you're going to technical training college on a planetary scale. So we have to understand who we are serving. This is why education should be around the other species who are part of the earth.
Right, not just our own history and these types of things.
Right, yeah. Our education system is so messed up compared to what we need to be on Planet B. So Planet B education system, you will understand the other beings that you're serving. Who are your neighbors in this ecosystem that you're in? And how do you bring that back? And how do you help them thrive? Because when they thrive, you thrive with them.
Yeah. It's not complicated. It's just, it does take that systematic change, though, to move things onto this Planet B way.
Yeah. Any system has to be built on the right foundations. And what do I mean by right foundations? The foundations have to be in alignment with nature. See, engineering is about building products that are in alignment with nature.
Right.
Because if they're not in alignment with nature, they won't work. So engineers always say, Mother Nature said that's not correct. Okay, we have to fix it. Right? And Mother Nature is our final boss that says your product works or doesn't work.
That's a good way to look at it.
It is. Right?
Yeah.
So if things are stable, then your product will work. So you've designed a stable system within the current environment.
Mm. That's beautiful. And this goes into a quote that you shared towards the end of chapter 10, which is, whatever we focus on and highlight amplifies in the universe.
Correct.
Why do you feel like that was so important in this chapter that really relates to how we belong in nature?
But whatever we focus on and we talk about it, then others hear what you're saying. If they agree with that, they've spread that. So when you focus on something and you say it out, you act with that focus, you amplify that in the universe. So the universe is a great amplifier, right? So this is why if you focus on all of our negative impacts and you keep saying that, and that gets amplified. Everyone says, oh, we are negative, we have to get rid of this, we get rid of ourselves and so on. So you tell a story, that story gets amplified. So you have to tell a positive story of humanity so that gets amplified. And when that gets amplified, then people say, oh yeah, we know we belong because of this. And therefore, we are going to transform ourselves to be in alignment. So it becomes like, oh, this is the next step we have to take as humanity, right? That's the next step forward towards thriving. This is what we wish each other, right? When a joyous new year, every year we wish others a joyous new year. And all I'm saying is that I'm not only wishing, I'm actually showing you how to do it. So how to systematically get to a joyous new year by year, right? So it has to be done systematically. Systems engineering is about finding solution space and then finding the optimum solution within the solution space and so on. It's about understanding systems and understanding how to make systems accomplish a desired objective. See, initially, I was thinking, why am I working on this? Why am I supposed to figure this out? Then I realized this is my job.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what my granddaughter told me. Do your job, right? She said, do your job. And my job is to figure out the solution space for the problems we are facing and the optimum solution within that solution space. And within that framework, I'm saying I have not seen anything that would come close to this vegan rewilding solution. Help the planet go vegan so that we are all taking care of our own health, and rewild the planet so that we can restore the ecosystems that used to be there 200 years ago, and we can maintain that. And that is the only way that I see to stabilize the life support systems of the planet and to maintain them into the foreseeable future. And of course, you're going to see some effects that we haven't understood. And as we come across those, we have to solve them. So it's not like we already know the solution for everything that is going to happen for the next 10,000 years. No, it is adaptive. You have to maintain this forever. In a way, it reminds me of the internet communications work that I was doing as well. When two chips talk to each other, they have to first figure out the channel that they're on. Okay, both sides have to figure out the channel that they're on. And then once they figure it out, the channel will adapt. Channel will change. Because there'll be new radio stations that come on, new TV stations that come on, new signals that come on and interfere with your channel. And the channel has to adapt. Or the temperature will increase, or the temperature will decrease. The channel has to adapt. So if your internet connection is constantly on, thank an engineer who figured out how to maintain that as the channel adapts.
Yeah, very cool. In this chapter, as we close out chapter 10, you talk about how important it is to shine our light. At this time, we are encouraged to shine our light. What do you mean by that, shining our light?
We have to amplify this new story. So we have to recognize that we belong and get better so that everyone wants to know what is it that makes you tick. Because they see us being happy and confident and working towards a brighter future. This compassionate science behind us. So shine, go out there, don't hide, and tell this new story of human belonging in nature, how we belong as the thermostat species, how we belong as Homo Ahimsa, and that there is a path to a thriving future on this planet for all of us. And it begins with kindness to all life. Right? And it's a great way to live.
It's the best way.
Yeah. I mean, who wants to live in a way where you have to kill animals in order to survive? That is what we were taught. You have to kill animals in order to survive. You have to exploit animals in order to survive. And I'm saying, we know that's not true. because I've been alive now for almost 18 years as a vegan. I've tried to not exploit animals at all for anything. Even my clothes are not made with animals. My shoes are not made with animals. And I don't eat any animals. So I've been living a vegan lifestyle for the last 18 years. And I'm healthier and happier and stronger than I ever used to be. I used to have arthritis at the age of 40, for heaven's sake. I was hobbling around without a pill. If I didn't
now you're doing Now you're doing 6-minute planks.
Yeah, I'm doing 6-minute planks. Yeah, and so it's you have to be on that upward spiral of greater and greater health, defying age, right?
All right. And it shows too. It doesn't matter what age you are, where you're at, or any of these things. It's once you start moving this direction, it's all benefit.
Yeah. It's all benefit, and and I don't mind dying also. So it's only when you're not afraid to die that you really begin to live.
So true.
When my usefulness is over, please take me. I'm done, right? But as long as I'm useful, I'm going to be here. So if you're still alive, that means nature says that you're still useful. She has something for you to do.
Yeah.
Because nature is the perfect system design. So begin with that, okay? Begin with that total faith in the perfection of nature.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, Dr. Rao. So I think that's a good way to kind of close out the episode. As we move into our next episode, we'll talk more about why human beings throughout history, it's scientifically proven that we do belong in nature, and we have for a very, very long time. So we look forward to getting into that in the next episode. And Dr. Rao, would you like to share any closing message with our audience today?
Thank you all. It's my privilege to be on this journey with all of you and know that we all belong exactly as we are.
Well, thank you all, and we'll see you again for episode 11.
This has been a podcast from Planet B, where free range means actually free. If you haven't moved here yet, we thank you for visiting.
The house is burning, but we're still sitting in the glow. Phones charged, lights on, pretending we don't know. But the forest is silent, the river's running low, and the flame on our plates is the strongest fire we throw. Put out the fire, put out the fire. It goes push past the line. Climate, land, species, fresh water, chemicals, nutrients, oceans in decline. Not danger, disaster in real time. Put out the fire. Ooh, put out the fire. Metafoodians rise. This is your power. And here in India, one truth stands the same. Milk is not just milk. Dairy feeds the flame. Cows and methane. Fields and forests turn to grain. Politics, culture, carbon, all wired to the same chain. Every cup of curd is heat in the air. Every block of butter is a forest repair. It's not a small habit, it's a planetary affair. Put out the fire. Put out the fire. Echoes and rise. This is our hour. Energy fixes half the hurt. Dr. Rao made that clear. But food fixes the other half, the half that's burning here. Change the plate, change the land, change the future's atmosphere. Put out the fire. Put out the fire. Metafoodians unite. This is your choir. Every millet, every fruit, every sapseed, every bean is water on the wildfire of a world we've never seen. Every oil-free bite is a river turning clean. This is not perfection, it's direction. Not pressure, but protection. A week of choices can cool a generation. A company's courage can ignite a nation. Put out the fire. Ooh, put out the fire. Echoes and rise. This is your hour. Metafoodians unite. Metafoodians ignite. Sharing love in the metazone. Lighting the path to a cooler home. Put out the fire. Ooh, put out the fire. Together we rise. Together we inspire.